Bubba Wallace was able to snap a 100-race winless streak at no other than the Brickyard 400 presented by PPG here at Indianaoplis Motor Speedway. And he did a phenomenal job doing it, because looking at some of the people that he had to defend off against into today's race, especially in the later portions of it, were really impressive. You know, Bubba Wallace led 23 laps, the last 23 laps of this race, but he had to hold off the likes of Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. Those drivers he had to hold off at the end to pull off the win in the Brickyard 400 presented by PPG tonight. And really, overall, it was a pretty decent race at the end. We had 2 overtime finishes here in the Brickyard 400 today. Bubba Wallace, the thing that's most impressive is that the restarts are really what matters here at Indianaoplis Motor Speedway, especially when it comes to the Cup races here, because it is really, really hard to pass at this track. So Wallace was able to block and make the right moves on both of those restarts, and holding off those drivers, as I mentioned, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson at the end of the race. So Bubba Wallace snapping that 100-race winless streak. It's also the first time that he has ever won in the regular season. If you remember, his only wins in the Cup Series came at Talladega in the fall, which is a playoff race in 2021. Kansas in the fall in 2022, playoff race as well. So for him to be able to win in the regular season, lock himself into the playoffs, is a big sigh of relief. And post-race too, he said his self-confidence was getting to him a little bit. His thoughts were getting to him, you know, in the winding down of the laps of this race. And he was saying that he just had to shut off those thoughts that go through his head that said, I don't think I'm going to be able to pull off this win here, and one of the biggest stages of the NASCAR Cup Series throughout the year. And he's able to do it. And he said, maybe I have to start turning that part of my brain off more. And with doing that, was able to propel him to the win in the Brickyard 400 presented by PPG tonight. So Bubba Wallace wins tonight, locks himself in the playoffs. Let's look at some of the other results from tonight. Kyle Larson, I mentioned, finished runner-up. Almost had Wallace there, but Wallace was able to make those moves. You know, that inside line is so dominant on these restarts. Denny Hamlin third, Ryan Preece fourth, Brad Keselowski fifth. Hey, how about a back-to-back top 10 finish in the Brickyard 400 for Todd Gilliland, finishing in sixth. Brian Blaney seventh, Christopher Bell eighth, Alex Bowman ninth, and Carson Hocevar rounds us out the top 10. So another Brickyard 400 weekend in the books. It was quite exciting. And before we get out of here, got to mention Ty Gibbs, first ever NASCAR in-season tournament challenge champion. And interesting path how he got there to win that championship. You look at it, Echo Park Speedway finished 14th against the 23rd finishing Justin Haley. Chicago finished second versus the 6th place AJ Allmendinger. Sonoma finished 7th against 27th placed finish Zane Smith. And then at Dover finished 5th versus Tyler Reddick, who finished 12th. And then here at the Brickyard 400 finished 21st over 28th Ty Dillon. And Ty Dillon, man, throughout this race just struggled. That's a lot of people were rooting for Ty Dillon to win this first ever in-season tournament challenge championship, but Ty Dillon just struggled throughout in the get-go. And as soon as he went a lap down, and really a lap down plus multiple cars ahead of him, really spelled the end of the day for Ty Dillon. Now, if you look at the race results, Ty Dillon did finish a race one lap down. Gibbs finished 21st, so 7 positions. So maybe if Gibbs fell a lap down and Ty Dillon was able to work some magic, maybe something could have happened there. But Ty Gibbs, winner of the very first ever in-season tournament challenge in the NASCAR Cup Series. It's interesting to see. Maybe will they bring that back next year? We'll see. A lot of hype died down after the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart, Echo Park Speedway, where that was just really a chaotic race. Probably the best race of the season, but an interesting place to start off with 32 drivers, and it's just based off of who finishes better. So Ty Gibbs wins the first in-season tournament challenge in the NASCAR Cup Series today at the Brickyard 400. NASCAR Cup Series will return in action next week at Iowa Speedway. NBC will begin their coverage and take us all the way to the championship at Phoenix Raceway in November. But it's been a fun weekend. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Pennzoil 250 yesterday, and then we had IRP races on Friday from Lucas Oil Raceway. It's just been a jam-packed weekend here at Indianapolis, or in Indianapolis, Indiana. And thank everybody at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IRP for all the support this weekend. 5 to Go podcast coming out, going to be a little bit later this week, probably around Thursday, just conflicting schedules and all, but can't wait to see what Doug Turnbull and Dan Elliott have to say about the races that transpired here in Indianapolis this weekend. So for Devin Kupka, for the 5 to Go podcast, Facebook and YouTube page, I'm signing off here from Indianapolis, Indiana.